I think I've received some requests about the essays we are talking about and excerpts from the Samaritan. And I know that this time most people would be sleeping, but I am not afraid to do this, because even if you don't meet this excerpt today, you're going to meet it tomorrow. So just feel free and interact with it anytime you're free, because this is actually a world we are put to without choosing, you know. English and literature is here for us, and we must pass. There are so many courses we want, and we don't want to miss them. So the only way out is to read the Samaritan 5 times, contextualize, you know, the different aspects that come in the exam. Remember, as a student, you should never fail a question to do with styles, themes, character traits. That is a case closed, yeah? Never, ever should you allow yourself to fail a question on stylistic devices, themes, which sometimes are called issues, yeah, or subject matter. When you come to stylistic devices, sometimes they'll ask language use or just styles. And then there is the character traits, or how a character is portrayed, or comment on a certain character, you know. Never should you allow yourself to fail these questions. And most times in exams, you find they are getting up to 12 marks, right? That is a lot of marks. And if you can score this, you know that you're going home with at least 12, and you can add others and get at least 20. I always say, if it's very possible for you to score 20 marks out of 25 in the excerpt. Why am I saying this? Remember, you started reading this book maybe in Form 1 or 2, Form 3, then Form 4. Can you imagine 4 years of a waste? Don't allow yourself to fail the excerpt question. You better fail grammar, I'll understand. But excerpt, no. The other question that I don't expect you to fail in English paper 2 or English paper 1 or 3, it is that question that asks you to write. Yeah? If you're being asked to write something, just write, you know? Everybody writes. Even if you don't go to school, you write. Yeah? You write letters, you write emails, you write SMSs, and so many other things. So why should we fail a question on writing? And I always tell students, paper 1 has 20 marks on writing. And that is functional writing. You know, you're either expected to write a letter, you're expected to write minutes, you're going to write agenda for minutes, you know, you may write memo, you can be asked to write poster, advertisement, a letter, you know, a report, and all these are straightforward. So how do you fail that? I can see somebody coming online. There are so many people, of course. Safe, Girly, you're saying, all right. Many others were there. Welcome back on board. How are you? I hope you're fine. So my live today is more of educational, focused towards informing the candidates of this year about the expectations in the exam. And I just started by cautioning them that they shouldn't fail in English, you know. Right now, many students are failing in English, and that is actually denying them so many courses. Law, talk of engineering, medicine. Those are courses that many parents want their kids to go for. And Children also want to go for them. Yeah. So if you have some comments, just drop in a comment section below so that these students understand the value of passing English language. Help me to talk to them, Saif, and any other person that is live. Yeah. So when you come to writing, as I've told you, paper 1 contains 20 marks on writing. And those are just normal writings that anybody, when you get out there in business, you just have to do it. You are forced to write a letter, maybe ordering for goods, a letter of request, You are forced to write a memo to members of your company to make them aware about the changes, minutes. Every time we go to a meeting, whether you went to school or not, whether you are at school or you are an official, you just have to write minutes. Posters. When I start a business, whether it's virtual, physical, I must write or make a poster. Advertisements. Every time I'm selling products, I have to create an advertisement. Letters. Who doesn't write a letter? You either write a letter to apply for a job, apologize, request, and so much that we can be doing around. Clean girl, hi. Anshuka, hi. Achu, hi. You say? Ndemula eniku nakia dukan tarumo. What exactly do you mean? So, as I was saying, writing has a lot, yeah? Now, question paper 3. Our students are expected to do creative writing. Yeah, creative writing, or rather imaginative. And the power of description is tasted here. So if you don't know how to describe a wedding, an accident, robbery, a case of, so many other things that happen around us, you will not score high. You're also expected to work on use idiomatic expressions, proverbs, unique vocabulary, and so many other stylistic devices such as twists, the power of rhetoric, yeah, credibility in whatever you are writing, yeah, choosing a mature story, and then your story will just flow and entertain whoever is reading. In creative writing, you're expected to make people cry. They better cry or laugh. That's the funny thing about it. So when your child or your friend is talking about creative writing, just tell them, make people laugh, make them cry. Abstract art. Hi. I'm so glad that you're coming live. When you're doing something and people come, it's like they're making you feel like, yeah, they're doing something great. Achu says Mula Kani Kuna. Actually, I can't understand. I don't know which language that is. I wish I could know what you're saying. So let's proceed. You can actually see those are 40 marks already. And as I said, excerpt, that is 25 marks. Now, you are going to deal with books that you're already covering in school. Yeah, and I know this is even in American system. I don't know about Arabic countries, Asian countries. If you're on comment sections and you come from there, just let us know. Because people think maybe it's just a system for one place. But if it applies to your country, just let us know so that everybody is aware that when it comes to education, reading books and analyzing is a must, something you can't avoid. Yeah, so in Kenya, for example, when you get to Form 4, You are supposed to read about 4 textbooks, yeah? Ente andi vaileku itu tarate. Unfortunately, I can't understand. You know, there's language barrier. I can't understand what Achu is saying here. Can anybody make me know what he's talking about? Because they're not telling me. Kenji Takumi is saying American system is quite easy. Your system is a little bit not very friendly. I understand, you know. I have done a lot of academic work for American students. It's kind of easy because the books are not so many. You find that somebody is in college and they are doing a book that Kenyan student is doing in high school. I don't know why, but we just find it put there. So what do we do? You know, like there's a heavy package. They even brought this, you know, CBC thing. But when you look at the system, it's loaded, man. The students in grade 8, 7, and 9 are loaded with a lot of work. I don't even understand why they were saying they are reducing it and making it American. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, so actually, I accept what Kenji Takumi is saying here. That name looks more like Japanese. I've done some little Japanese, not advanced, about sensei and all that. Okay. So, of course, our system is a bit, I don't know why it's complicated for nothing and a bit not friendly. Like, students are loaded with a lot of work. I saw recently, Jarida and I went to America with the students, the kids, and they were like happy, you know? Like, they don't have too much as it used to be in Kenya, you know? I have a kid in P2, PP2. And every day she comes back home, she has a lot of assignments to do. Sometimes English, mathematics, and all that. And sometimes the teachers just let the parents help, you know. Anyway, that aside, let's get back to the discussion. Yeah, so back to our discussion. Achu, show you box. Hi. Okay, so the books. We were talking about the books that students have to do. And of course, they have to read one compulsory text that will be set in paper 2, another compulsory text that will be set in paper 3, and an optional that will be set in paper 3. Yeah? So you can see those are 3 books, English. That is English alone. Come to Kiswahili again, we have books to be read. Whoever read Hard Times understands this. Hard Times by Dickens. It's about reading and reading. So I think this system has become so rote that students, you know, put a lot just for, you know, a short while and they forget about it later. Anyway, what do we do? I hope that people who implement this system could change. And in fact, funny enough, they don't involve teachers and parents and students themselves. They're just people who sit somewhere and they create the system. Am I diverting? Let me go back to our discussion. So today, of course, I wanted to target the excerpt from this book known as The Samaritan. I don't know how many of you, for those who are live, have read this book and understood what it talks about. It's all political, you know, sharing the aspects of corruption, selfish leaders, you know, imprudent leaders, you know, corrupt leaders, yeah? The kind of leaders that can go at an expense of sacrificing an app, you know, an important app that is supposed to allow transparency. And this is an innovation done by students, you know, to bring change in Maracas, municipality. You know, they go to an extent of trashing it and making sure that it doesn't go ahead. So at the end of the day, this book is all political, and what I've realized is that some students don't like this political book. But anyway, you just have to go ahead with it. So from the request I've received, let me go ahead and just share one excerpt. Of course, I'll just share from where it starts to where it ends. Then I'll ask questions and help you understand how to answer. So when you look at the Samaritan, our excerpt comes from where Nicole is looking apprehensive. So, to whom do I owe the honor of receiving you here? Remember, this is the last act for those who've read the book. Jayden clears his throat. All is well, Nicole. On behalf of my colleagues, I beg your pardon for our intrusion into your busy schedule. Bembe says, before your lordship can go any further, I would like to apologize to Nicole for the misunderstanding that led to her arrest and arraignment in court. I have thought the whole incident, and I've realized the mistake was mine. I'm very sorry. Mosi says, my apologies too, Nicole. Sometimes I tread on people's toes in the cause of duty, but it's never personal. Nicole is puzzled, you know. And she says, there was never anything personal in the matter of the Samaritan. It was just a school project by 2 of our students. Then, everybody now looks at her. She says, nonetheless, I accept your apologies, and I also apologize if I offended any of you. Ted says, I've seen you several times, but I'm afraid I am not well acquainted with you. I am pleased to offer you this present. Do you know what he gave her? A golden ring. A golden ring. So then Nicole is surprised, and so she just declines. She says, no. Thank you, but I don't wear them. My apologies. Yeah, there is a brief awkward moment, you know, a moment whereby everybody is surprised. I don't know whether they were surprised at why Ted had picked a golden ring to give to this lady. Those who have read the book understand what I'm talking about, because Ted had insinuated earlier that Nicole has very good legs. So, just as Jayden clears his throat, then removes his eyeglasses, you know, and fiddling with them in his hands, he speaks. So what does he say? Nicole, we have had a very long discussion as the top leadership of the municipality touching on the Samaritan. He then pauses and puts the glasses on the table, then resumes his position, and he says, after due deliberations, we agreed to consult you about the possible changes we need to effect to secure a good future for our municipality. How genuine is this? So, Basdeo says, if I put it differently, Nicole, in the wake of the Samaritan, it has become clear that we must introduce fundamental changes in the way our municipality is administered. We recognize the truth that serious mistakes have been made in leadership, and matters have now come to the end. We realize that this ship, that is our municipality, will sink unless we engineer the desired change. Are you getting that? For those of you who know what I'm talking about, and in comparison with our leaders in our countries, you understand what I'm talking about. Mosi says, things are not that bad, of course, but we will appreciate your contribution in enhancing service delivery to the people. Nicole is very bold. And she says, yes, I agree. There is an urgent need for drastic change. Jaden goes ahead and says, our question is the role you would prefer to play in the new order. Yeah? And Nicole is like, actually, I'm willing to play a prominent role. I owe Maracas municipality and our country a whole civic duty. I am ready to work with patriotic citizens to enhance transparency and accountability in the management of public affairs. After saying that, Justice Jaden and the leaders in the municipality just stand up and, exchange glances. They all stand with relief and cheerfully move to shake Nicole's hand in turn. Nicole stands up, though looking rather puzzled. So I'll just turn the camera so that I'm showing you the excerpt itself, in case you want to refer before we get to the questions. So here it is. Sauti iko too loud. Yeah, so that is the excerpt I've just been reading. I hope it's very clear so that in case you are referring later, you can. Yeah, so I'm showing the entire excerpt. Yeah, now let's get to the questions. Question 1. What had Nicole and Nareen discussed before the visitors came? In cases, sometimes they'll just ask you what happened before the excerpt, right? For those of you who have read this book many times, of course, what happens is that Nareen tells Nicole that the bamboo that bends is stronger than the oak that resists, and she should turn the sail if she cannot turn the wind. Yeah, the proverbs here. Nicole asks her whether she should prefer slavery and just let the leaders plunder the public resources without being challenged. And Nareen is like, you stubborn girl, what are you telling me? Nothing has been ever changed in history, and so you're not going to disturb me. So, I'm in charge of taking care of students, and if you continue as you are, I'll grab you by your pants and hound you out of any vicinity. Unless you listen, things are not going to be good for you. So we see here, the principal is threatening the teacher because she's afraid if things continue, she doesn't see everything right? The second question, what arrest is Bembe referring to, and why should he apologize? 3 marks. If you've read this book, and that's why I started by saying you should read it many times. And Takumi here is like, while I understand the local writings are important, I think implementing foreign books can help your system. Diversity is important, and our perspective can help. Kenji, if you're not aware, in Kenya, we don't only study local books. In Kenya, students are forced to study even William Shakespeare's texts. There is a time we've done Well Rider. Well Rider is not a Kenyan book. So Kenji Takumi, if you are not aware, in Kenya we even do Japanese books. Do you know that we are studying a book? I'm referring you to go and read it if you are aware. The Artist of the Floating World, do you know it? Yeah? Do you know that book? That is a book that is written from Japan. The writer is Eshiguro Kazuo. Yeah, that is a Japanese book, An Artist of the Floating World. And by the way, many students run away from that book because they can't contextualize that book. Like they can't comprehend that war and what is happening. There is a time we also did another book known as it was talking about people going to get some. They were getting some minerals from the sea. I'll recall the name and just share with you. We do a lot of books until sometimes you can't even connect. But it was the best. I think it was with Kino. There was a character known as Kino. Yeah. And there was a lady there. And they were facing poverty that was not ending anytime soon. If I remember, I'll mention it. And even by now, the books, like if you look at A Silent Song and other short stories, that book combines writers from all over the world. It's not about Kenya. So the problem is not in our books, because even the foreign books we use, the problem is just that the books are too much. The problem is not that we don't have diversity, because if I look at the system, of course, we are one country that you are forced to study world history before you come to Kenyan history. Imagine, World War, Commerce, and all that. Anyway, let's go back to our questions. I hope you are even seeing them. You've seen enough. We can continue without you looking at them. So, when we look at question 2, the arrest, the arrest being referred to here is that Bembe had arrested Nicole on false claims, false accusations that she had stolen the school generator. It was aimed to intimidate her and make her, be an accomplice in the process of killing the Samaritan up. Yeah, he really roughed her up, pulling her from the office. And that is why, after she won a case against Bembe, Bembe is ashamed. The third question is, explore any two issues the author has exposed in this excerpt. And of course, guys, you can see a lot of themes. The first I can see is reconciliation. Why? Bembe, Ted, and everyone else are coming here to make sure that they talk to Nicole and they are understood. We also see loyalty or patriotism. Nicole says she owes Maracas a lot and she's ready to work for it. Then we have technology. Of course, the Samaritan app is mentioned. We have violence, where Mosi testifies that he has been treading on people's toes. Next is identify and explain any two stylistic devices in this excerpt. Of course, we see ellipses, right? My apologies, then they stammer. But there is also an idiom. When Moses says he treads on people's toes, we understand that he has been abusing them. Onomatopoeia, fiddling. The next question is, what serious mistakes does Basdeo refer to here? And for those who have read the text, we see mistakes like grabbing public land, taking bribes by the police, selling of drugs, negligence of duty by Mosi, looting of public funds, misallocation of funds, embezzlement of funds, killing of innocent people, state capture, and so many other. The next question is a grammar question. Our question is the role you would prefer to play in a new order. Our question is the role you would prefer to play in the new order. Rewrite the sentence using the word rather. Now, students, most times when they ask these questions, it's just about the conjunctions. Sometimes create create a question instead of a statement. Use if conditional, and so many others, tenses. Yeah, like last year KCSE, you saw it was about the progressive perfective tense. Now here the question is that you use rather. So you should understand that prefer to is equal to rather. So here it's what role would you rather play in the new order? Second last question, what misinterpretation follows this conversation? Mosi shakes Nicole's hand vigorously, believing that she will accept the offer of leadership to be the director of the municipality. And then they will silence the Samaritan app. But, he believes that for her presence, she will create change, justice, and prioritization of public interest. That's why they are celebrating. In reality, Nicole is not interested in all this. The last question, explain the meanings of the following words: intrusions, acquainted, deliberations. So intrusions is disturbances, interruptions, disruptions. Acquainted is conversant, familiar, accustomed. And deliberations are discussions or negotiations. Now I'll turn again the camera. Now when you come to the question of explaining meanings of words, students, remember, you are supposed to adhere to the aspect that we require you to give a word in the correct tense, in the correct like if it's a noun, your answer should be noun. Verb, verb. Past tense, past tense. Yeah, so I've really taken a lot of time in this live, but I appreciate those who came live. So many came live, and I'm happy for that. I hope that it will benefit our students. And for foreign viewers, I'm so happy because your presence means a lot. You bring a lot of comments and your advice, and that's worth it. Thank you. Have a nice time.